I can only suspect it's part of the phenomenon I describe in the book, where there's a consensus developed by whoever the gatekeepers are. They don't want to report the story because of maybe their personal feelings about it, or they're concerned with how the administration might retaliate or respond if they go along that line of reporting. Who knows? But I think in any legitimate neutral viewpoint, taking me out of the equation entirely, just saying that a journalist, a national journalist whose computers were intruded upon, is filing a suit with these allegations and this evidence, that by any standard is a large news story, at least in our industry.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's, of course, is Sharyl Attkisson, Emmy Award-winning journalist, former CBS News correspondent, and author of Stonewalled, My Fight for Truth Against the Forces of Obstruction, Intimidation, and Harassment in Obama's Washington. There it is on your television screen. Hello, Sharyl. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. I want to get to that lawsuit in a second, but I wonder about what you think about the coverage of the terrorist attack, and more importantly, the announcements by CNN. They announced today through their media guy that they're not going to be putting the cartoons up. I understand, I read that Fox has no plans to put the cartoons up. AP won't put the cartoons up. Of course, the New York Times, and right on down the line. Is what's your take on that? Is it out of fear or what?
Well, I'm traveling and I haven't seen any of that, just based on what you summarized. And just understanding in the past decisions had to be made about this sort of thing. It's a very tough call. I mean, you don't want to provoke and overly endanger employees. On the other hand, you don't want to kowtow to terrorists and their threats. What is your take on that?
I don't know. I think if everybody got together and said we're going to do it, then then you got to do it. I mean, how do you report a story without showing them, without showing what they claim they murdered these people for and about, and then say you're not censoring, you're not giving in to them? I just think it's that slippery slope. And how do you turn back? What's next that you won't show?
Well, something, it reminds me of the administration, the Obama administration, which I assume is a supporter of freedom of the press, and yet apologized for the Innocence of Muslims video, which was a perfectly legal expression of free speech in the United States of America, yet they tried to have YouTube pull that down because they thought it would provoke terrorists or people who are offended by it.
And Sharyl, what's his name, Carney, in 2012, scolded this very magazine for running their cartoons. He said, we defend their right to do it, but we question their judgment.
Yeah, I think it's a very difficult issue. I think in some respects we are trying to have it both ways. We don't want to give in or appear as if we're giving in, but on the other hand, to some degree, we are when we say that we don't want to be provocative or in danger. I don't have the answer to that. It's a tough call, especially for the managers.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think you're right about one thing. If everybody were to get together and agree, everyone publishes it at once all over the place, it could help neuter the idea that there would be, someone singled out for a focus. I don't know if that would backfire or work, but it is one thing, I haven't thought about that. I don't think you'll get the media all together to do that, but I think it's a thought.
All right, let's talk about your lawsuit. Exactly what are you claiming?
There are two different claims. There's an administrative action filed that's, my understanding from my attorney, was required for our claim alleging illegal wiretapping. And the administrative claim is part of a process prior to a lawsuit that one has to go through because the government has sovereign immunity and can't just be sued without being given the opportunity to admit the allegation is true and pay and settle the claim. If they don't admit it's true, if they deny it or ignore it, after a certain period of time, we can file a suit on the illegal wiretapping claim. But secondly, there's already a lawsuit now filed in D.C. Superior Court alleging violation of First and Fourth Amendment rights, freedom of the press and privacy rights, as a result of the illegal monitoring and surveillance that went on in my family computer as well as my CBS laptop computer. The administrative claim process isn't required for a constitutional claim, so that's why that's already a lawsuit.
And I mean, what you're seeking damages, correct? I think, are we talking about $35 million in damages?
Yes, the administrative claim requires, as part of the prescribed process, that you have to put a dollar figure in there, which we really weren't prepared to do. That's up to a judge and jury, ultimately, if the case goes that far. However, because it's required, my attorney researched similar claims that were founded and picked a middle ground based on the awards that have historically been made, and he listed that. But ultimately, it would be up to a judge and jury to decide that amount. What we really want, and we talked about this at length, my lawyer and I, when he recommended this action, we want more answers to get at the truth, because the government will not cooperate, won't answer basic questions about any of this. We want to give as much exposition to what happened as possible, but make it all that much harder for it to happen to somebody
again,
else.
right. Sharyl, good luck. We appreciate you coming on. Always great to talk to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anhem Chowdhury's next. That should be fun.